Well, arise and shine. Good morning and many thanks for making time and choosing Lookuptv as your channel this particular morning, and of course to get information regarding what has been happening in the country. As from last week when we celebrated the 60th Mashujaa Day, it didn't really go according to plan because 3 people lost their lives in a stampede that happened at the Kericho Green Stadium at 3 a.m. in the morning, with around a dozen others, injured, including police officers who were manning the gates to that particular stadium. Now, I am Keitany, and you're seeing me here today because I'm sitting in for Simba Charles Eliza Kiagi. You might be wondering where he is. Probably is taking some soup in Kisii County. Simba, a very good morning to you. But that aside, of course, we will be having various conversations this morning, but top on the list is the RUTO care. That is the universal health coverage that was launched by President William Ruto during the Mashujaa Day celebrations in Kericho County. A coverage, rather program, that the president says aims at ensuring that all Kenyans can get access to better and improved health care. That, of course, goes hand in hand with, of course, the flagging off of the 100,000 community health promoters by the president. Now, the same 100,000 community health promoters will be responsible for 100 households each. Now, the cost of getting these particular community health promoters, of course, into action, the cost of, their stipends will be footed by both the national government and the county government in a 50-50 plan. Now, this particular UHC plan, or the Universal Healthcare Plan, has brought about a lot of jitters. People have different views, especially in regards to the 4 laws that the president assented into law last week on Thursday, just ahead of the Mashujaa Day celebrations. We'll be talking much more about that in this particular show and what it means, because yesterday the Azimio Brigade, led by their chief Raila Amolo Odinga, questioned the RUTO care and the government's implementation, the government's plan in implementing that particular plan. Now, question is, will it be successful? Remember, they're doing away with the National Health Insurance Fund, a fund that has been marred with cases of corruption. Question is, how successful will it be? At what cost? Because Kenyans are set to part with more in order to get, or rather to achieve, or to help the president achieve his healthcare dream of ensuring that each and every Kenyan is able to get proper healthcare. Now, of course, the opposition has been calling out the government for various issues, as well as today, while in Kajiado County, they again lamented over the demolitions, or the ongoing demolitions in Mavoko, Machakos County. Remember last week, the DCI, of course, gave a list of people who were to be grilled, including the area member of parliament. But again, despite Kalonzo Musyoka and his team heading to the Environment Court or rather seeking the court to stop that particular demolition, their application was dismissed. The demolitions, of course, set to continue this week as it enters its 2nd phase in the, of course, the EPZ land that has been, marred with controversy, as Malu Kenya, of course, from that sold the land to those who have been affected by the demolitions, continue to insist that they do own that particular land, of course, contrary to what the court ruled just ahead of those particular demolitions. We'll be looking into that much more later on. Of course, without forgetting that the bipartisan team will be retreating in Naivasha starting today to draft their report. Don't know how that will go, having it in mind that the Azimio team are threatening to keep off the drafting of that particular report, and they're saying they will not own that report if their issues are not addressed. We'll be looking into those issues later on. But as for now, remember, you can watch this particular morning program live across our YouTube and Facebook pages at Lookuptv. You can as well engage with us at Lookuptv across all social media platforms. Now, on that note, we just take a short breather. We'll be back with the newspaper review this morning. Well, thank you very much. Just like I said, it's time for the newspaper review. Many stories making headlines across the country. Of course, top among them is the El Nino rains. The president yesterday, while attending a church service at RUTO satellite here in Dagoretti South, alluded to, there are no, alluded to the country not experiencing El Nino rains as predicted earlier on. Of course, downplaying, the occurrence of El Nino rains despite earlier warnings that the country was set to experience El Nino rains, not just the country, but the region at large, because as well, IGAD had, given an alert or warning of El Nino rains. Now, before I look, or rather jump into that, I beg we start with the Daily Nation. And the top story in the Daily Nation is Kenya's phone theft syndicate. If you've stayed in Nairobi for some time, you either are a victim directly or indirectly of phone theft in your matatu or at home. It's something that is synonymous with the capital. Now, they say many Kenyans admit to having lost their phones to snatchers and muggers on motorcycles, on foot, in matatus, or at nightclubs. But the brazen tactics employed by the criminals have reached alarming levels, with the stolen devices being flushed and smuggled to neighboring countries and ready market. Now, like I said, you might be just strolling within the central business district or in a matatu, going to your place or going to work. All of a sudden, someone appears, snatches your phone, and boom, you're phoneless. Now, they say every 10 minutes, someone loses a phone to smugglers here in the country. Every 10 minutes, someone loses a phone here in the country to smugglers. They say each police station records at least 5 cases of phone theft every day, and the numbers can be higher. At least 5 every day. Each police station here in the country. Safaricom, Airtel shops are the busiest on Mondays as victims of weekend theft rush to replace their SIM cards. They're saying that the DCI has engaged Interpol to help on cross-border smuggling of gadgets. As well, increased taxes, have led to high prices of smartphones, fueling theft of the devices. Now, question is, even as the DCI engages with Interpol to help in tackling the issue of phone theft in the country, will the menace stop? And who does the buck stops with? That is the biggest question in regards to that particular story. Also on the front page of the Daily Nation, they say, we are all shareholders, Gachagua says. Of course, they've quoted what Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua said yesterday in Mukurweini, Nyeri County. Remember, the Deputy President has been on the spot for quite some time, insisting that the government will first serve and provide, development projects or implement development projects to those, or give priority to those who voted for this particular government. Now, the president, while on a tour, in the Nyanza region, if I'm not mistaken, while he was in Siaya County, said the government will serve each and every person, regardless of whether they voted for the government or not. Now, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has now downplayed, the shareholder remarks, saying that everybody is entitled to, getting proper service delivery, including implementation of key projects, regardless of whether they voted for the government or not. Now, there's a story on page 8, and this is the story of, the Pakistani journalist who was killed in the country. That is Arshad Sharif. That particular story is on page 8, and they say, according to the doctors, they say Arshad Sharif could have survived the shooting if at all he was promptly taken to hospital. They say that is according to the pathologist who did the postmortem on the Pakistani journalist. Remember, he was shot along Magadi Road in Kajiado County. There have been several reports on who should be held accountable, who is behind the killing of that particular journalist. Remember, he was a journalist who was quite popular at home, but rubbed shoulders with what are termed as quote unquote the big boys in in Pakistan. So they're saying if at all he had been taken to hospital early enough, he would have survived that particular attack. Remember, he was killed in the country 1 year ago. Of course, investigations have been ongoing, but the wife, who is Javeria Siddiq, has been very, very fast forward in trying to ensure that justice is served and his husband's killers are brought to book. That continues to happen even as investigations are going to know exactly what happened. Now, as we wrap up with the Daily Nation, is the story of El Nino, and the president now downplays the El Nino rains in the country. They say President RUTO now plays down widely predicted El Nino rains. Now, that is according to the president. Scientists in the country are saying, and of course, led by the likes of Eunice Koech, who has been quoted here, and she says, people assume that since the sun is out in Nairobi, then there's no El Nino. We may not pin down exactly why it is hot, but it doesn't mean we don't have El Nino. Of course, the Met Department is yet to give a substantiated statement in regards to, the alert being downgraded from where it was to what the situation is at the moment, because the president said we'll just experience no rains or short rains, to be specific on what he said. And he said the rains will not necessarily cause devastating impacts to farmers. Remember, farmers were on high alert because of the predictions on the El Nino rains, because it could come, the El Nino rains could have come with a high cost in regards to the destruction of their crops. But now, at least according to the president, they have probably a reason to smile. They'll be fully happy when the Met Department finally issues a statement to say, yes, we are not expecting El Nino rains anymore. That will only happen if, or rather time will tell whether that will happen. Now, let's shift focus to the Standard this morning. And the top story is on matters at UHC. They say tighten belts as RUTO care comes at an extra cost. At the beginning of this particular show, I posed a question: at what cost will the president be able to achieve his healthcare ambition? Now they say, with the new formula for contribution to Medicare starting, employees will have to pay more to realize the president's dream of affordable healthcare for all. There are a lot of issues in regards to this affordable healthcare program, because with the new laws that were signed, Kenyans are set to part with at least 2.75% of their earnings to, or rather contribute 2.75% of their earnings to, of course, this healthcare program. Remember, the government has set aside at least 26 billion shillings to cater for the medical expenses of those who will not be able to contribute. Remember as well, if you are not able to contribute, or if you're not able per se, if you fail to contribute, then you will be fined by the government. That is 2% of the defaulted amount. Now they have, of course, they have a sample here of the deductions that many people are going to face, and as it stands, like I said, 2.75% of your earnings. Now, Kenyans will part with money that will help the president to achieve his healthcare dreams or ambitions, but that will now happen according to what you get at the end of the month. The more you earn, the more you part with. The less you earn, the less you part with. Some say that is fair, some say that is not fair. We'll be looking into that. And what does this particular program mean? Now, just because we'll look deeper, or we'll delve deeper into that later on, just want us to look into other stories making headlines on this particular newspaper this morning. And there's the issue of demolitions on page 4 and 5, the ongoing demolitions in Mavoko, Machakos County. And of course, they say report exposes illegal allocation and invasion of Mavoko land. Of course, there's a task force that was mandated to examine and inquire into the allocation of lands to individuals or corporations. And like I said earlier on, the court ruled that EPZ, or rather the East African Portland Cement Company, beg your pardon, was the legitimate owner of the 12,000-acre land in Athi River. Now, it has caused a lot of political uproar with the opposition calling out the government for the demolition that was that has been ongoing in that particular area. Just to give you a few finer details into this particular story, like I said, the land is estimated to be around, beg your pardon, 12,000 acres. That is the land that is being sought here by or being claimed by the East African Portland Cement Company. The demolitions, of course, have left many families, crying. They're in anguish because their property has been destroyed, and it just paints a picture of, farms taking advantage, of Kenyans. Now, the biggest question is, they say, well, the deal is too good, you think, to us. But at the end of the day, if at all these farms are found liable, then they must be held accountable, regardless of whatever happens, because they must be able, if at all, any compensation will be ordered, then this farm, the Aimi Malu Kenya, should be held accountable because they are the ones who sold these parcels of land to the owners who are now in anguish following the demolitions that happened. Now, 4,000 acres of the land is where the 4-day demolitions happened after the High Court judge, of course, under Magistrate Nyukuri, declared the East African Portland Cement as the legitimate owner of that particular land. Of course, remember in August 2011, that was the period when the government stopped all land transactions in the wider Athi River area, which falls under Mavoko Municipal Council, to investigate fraudulent land deals. Now, that particular story, you can get more details in regards to that story on page 4 and 5 of the Standard this particular morning. Just as a wrap up the newspaper review this morning, on the back page of the Standard, actually it's the same story as well as on the Daily Nation. They say Gor Mahia quench thirst with cold Tusker on warm afternoon. Remember, Gor Mahia did win 1-0 against Tusker. It was a controversial goal, in my own opinion, and in the opinion of a good chunk of football supporters or football lovers in the country. That was an offside goal that was scored by Benson Omala. But we do have the systems in the country to, of course, check whether those goals are indeed legitimate or not, because clearly he was offside when he scored that particular goal. Just to give you, of course, a summary of those results, Gor Mahia won 1-0 against Tusker. Muranga Seal, Baron draw with Bedco Bandari. Did win at home against FC Leopards. Moroni went on a 1-1 draw with Kariobangi Sharks. Shabana did again lose concentration in the dying minutes of the game to concede, and of course ended in a 2-2 draw with Nairobi City Stars. And finally, a few seconds, Madam Director, they say this is a story that will be interesting to Simba Charles Salazar Kiage. Ateta hails Arsenal's fight back against Chelsea. Remember, Arsenal were losing 2-0 to mid-table strugglers Chelsea on Saturday before Leandro Trossard and Declan Rice came to the rescue of the red side of London. Now, Arsenal sit joint top with Manchester City, but finally they dropped points. And they want to say, yes, we secured a draw against Chelsea, but Chelsea is a mid-table team. Come on, what are you talking about? But on that note, we wrap up the newspaper review. Taking a short breather yet. Once again, we'll be back with the news highlights this morning. Don't go away. Well, thank you very much for staying with us. It is time for the news highlights here on the Morning Drift. And like I said, you can watch this show live across our YouTube and Facebook pages at Lookuptv, as well as engage with us across all our social media platforms at Lookuptv. Now, let's get into it. And controversy is brewing between the county government of Nairobi and a private developer over a parcel of land that was set aside for the expansion of Tasia Level 4 Hospital, which has now stalled after the developer started constructing a 6-story building in the land designated for the construction of the hospital. Now, the hospital committee says that they had been threatened by the said public utility land grabber, prompting them to report the threats and obtained an OB. City county officers who visited the site arrested some of the construction workers.
Tasia Hospital. Chaos ensued after a section of youth stormed a construction site in the area, destroying anything their eyes could see. The construction is said to belong to a private developer and has been ongoing in a parcel of land set aside for the expansion of Tasia Level 4 Hospital. The practitioners in the facility are decrying harassment by the said developer, insisting that the land belongs to the hospital, calling on the national and the county government to intervene.
Hii ni shamba letu wa Tasia Hospital. Hatuwezi nyang'anya hizi wizi nyembaba hatutaki. RUTO upo ama upo? Sakada, where are you? Umenyamaza, umepotelea wapi? Sikia sauti yetu tunalilia hapa mahali hapa.
However, the Nairobi County Chief Officer for Health Services insists that the parcel of land belongs to the county government, with at least 16 million shillings set aside for the expansion of the facility.
I'm here to affirm that this land belongs to the county government, and this developer has just constructed inside our county facility adjacent to a facility which we are just doing adjacent to it, which we have allocated 16 million for completion. And also we are supposed to do a perimeter wall for this financial year for this facility, Tasia Kwandege.
Mosiria further faulted the developer for the construction, insisting that it is illegal as the county government is not aware of the construction, while calling out the developer for hiring goons to attack the hospital staff.
They are doing illegal construction. Today is a public holiday. They are constructing without any approvals from the government, the county government. So whatever they are doing there is illegal. Whatever they are doing, they have mobilized goons to threaten the members of staff of this facility. Actually, the board chair has been attacked by the same goons. He has the OP. Where's the OB? She has been attacked. This is the OB number. They have literally threatened her. They were almost beating her, the goons. And she has made a report today on 20th of 10th, year 2023.
Keitany, Lookuptv.
Now, moving forward, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua now says that the government is on course in finding market for coffee in the United States and getting rid of brokers. Speaking while attending a church service in Mukurweini, Nyeri County, the DP also said coffee and the milk sector are bound to experience a transformation.
Speaking as he attended a church service in Nyeri County, the second-in-command, Rigathi Gachagua, stressed on the reforms within the milk, tea and coffee sector, and that the government is now keen on finding a market for the Kenyan coffee farmers in the United States.
Tumefanya mpango na rais. Mimi namshukuru rais. Aliongea na balozi wa Marekani, amekuja tumeketi na balozi wa Marekani Meg Whitman ametupangia wanunuzi wa kahawa wenyewe wale wako Umarekani wanaitwa Starbucks wanakuja hapa kuonana na rais na mimi wakinunua kahawa yetu direct, kwa sababu wenye kununua kahawa yetu hapana wa Marekani ni watu wako Europe, na nchi moja ndio inauza kahawa mingi sana duniani na hawana hata mti moja wa kahawa. Hao ni broker tu. Sasa sisi tunataka hii broker tuondoe. Wenye kukunywa kahawa ni wa Marekani na wanapenda kahawa yetu sana. Kwanza hawapatii kahawa yetu. Tumewaambia wa Marekani Hii ya kuongezwa ya blending kidogo hapana. Kujeni mchukue yetu mkunywe ikiwa original. Na hiyo Amerikani wakikunywa yetu ikiwa original, haki ya Mungu ikawa watanunua miaka yote.
Gachagua said that for a long time the industry has been depending on brokers, adding that government efforts to reform the sector are now bearing fruits.
Mambo ya kahawa tulianza kufanya mabadiliko, tukakuwa na pingamizi kali kutoka kwa wale ambaye wako katikati ya mkulima na mkunywaji wa kahawa hapa katikati, kwa sababu wanatununulia bei kidogo, wanauza bei kubwa, wanakula faida yote. Sasa walikuwa wametengeneza jama ati ndio tuachane na mabadiliko, wanakataa kununua kahawa wakae naye ati ndio tuachane na hiyo mabadiliko. Na walifanya hivyo mwaka wa 2019, serikali ikaigiza baridi ikawakubalia kuendelea. Wakafanya hivyo 2020. Sasa hii tumesema hakuna mabadiliko ambayo tunafanya katika sekta ya kahawa na majani chai na maziwa imeenda mzuri. Mambo ya majani chai imefaulu kiasi kubwa.
Gachagua also defended the rising taxes, saying it is one way the government seeks to raise revenue to deal with the crisis they supposedly got when they got to power. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv.
Now, opposition leader Raila Odinga has continued his veiled attacks on the Kenya Kwanza administration, citing overtaxation of Kenyans by the RUTO-led administration. Now, speaking in Kajiado County, Odinga has called upon President William Ruto to consider the plight of Kenyans while slamming the government over the ongoing demolitions in Mavoko.
Sasa uchumi yetu imeathirika. Wakenya wanalia kila mahali, sababu ushuru inapandishwa kila siku. Juzi mnasikia tunazindua ile mpango ya matibabu, alafu hiyo sasa tena vile vile inaletwa ushuru mwingine, na hiyo vile vile inaletwa bila mpango yoyote. Wanasema hii ndio itakuwa ni ati RUTO care. Sisi tulikuwa na baba care kama azimio. Tulikuwa na baba care ambayo ilikuwa mpango tulikuwa tumeweka vizuri sana, bila watu wetu wangepata matibabu bila tatizo lolote. Na inafanyika katika nchi nyingine katika bara ya Afrika hii, bila kutoza watu ushuru, bila watu wanatoza watu ushuru. Inafanyika. Tuliongea juu ya mambo ya kina mama ambayo wana watoto na hawana mabwana, single mothers, single parent mothers. Na tulisema vile sisi tutawasaidia tukishika tamu ya utawala. Ni mpango tulikuwa tumepanga vizuri sana na wataalamu wetu. Sasa yale yote bado tumeweka kwa store. Hao watu walitoa ahadi mingi zaidi na bado wanatoa ahadi kila siku. Mention to you what happened in Mavoko. Tulienda Mavoko, tunakuta askari wametolewa kazini, wamewekwa pale, wameshika doria, wanasema huwezi kuingia ndani, ati kazi inaendelea. Kazi ya kubomoa manyumba sio kazi ya polisi. Askari hawezi kuajiriwa kwenda kulinda wale ambao wanabomoa manyumba ya watu bila kujali consequences. Watoto wanakaa pale hawana makao, mvua inanyeshewa. Shule zinabomolewa na kuna watoto ambao wanakwenda kufanya mitihani wako pale. Mahospitali, dispensary zinabomolewa. Makanisa zinabomolewa.
Now, President William Ruto has continued to champion for the new universal healthcare coverage, which is anchored on 4 laws enacted last week that will provide a framework to ring-fence medical funds. Ruto, who attended a church service in RUTO satellite, insists that his administration will ensure that each and every Kenyan gets access to better healthcare.
Fresh from launching the Universal Healthcare Program during the Mashujaa Day celebrations in Kericho County, President William Ruto has continued to reiterate his government's commitment in ensuring all Kenyans can access better healthcare, with the national and the county governments set to team up in ensuring proper healthcare provision through community health promoters.
Jana watakorete muko? Mwende musome manifesto. ile tuliandika. Haikuwa ni karatasi ama gazeti, ni kutekeleza mambo ya serikali.
President William Ruto reaffirmed his commitment to delivering his development agenda, maintaining that the government will take stern action against those who loot public funds, and the new healthcare plan is significant relief for low-income earners who previously had to sell property to cover medical expenses.
Wale community health promoters 7,300 wa Nairobi, sasa tumewapatia kits, tumewapatia vifaa ya kupima magonjwa, kupima sukari, kupima pressure, kupima hypertension, kufanya nini, na watakuwa wanakuja nyumbani kwenu kufanya hiyo kazi, kwa sababu tunataka kuteremusha mambo ya afya iende mpaka kwa kijiji.
In a bid to create job opportunities for the youth, Ruto hinted at plans to amend the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act so as to provide resources to every ward to have at least one ICT hubs.
Pale tutaweka makompyuta, pale tutaweka internet, na tutapanga vijana 300-400 kwa kila ward. Vijana wa Dagoretti muko? Vijana wa Dagoretti muko? Muende musome manifesto ile tuliandika. Haikuwa ni karatasi ama gazeti, ni kutekeleza mambo ya serikali. Hiyo ICT hub ambayo iko kwa manifesto yetu, tunataka vijana 300-400 tuwaweke pale, tutaweka vifaa, tutaweka kompyuta, na tutahakikisha ya kwamba vijana wetu mbali na kujifunza mambo ya kompyuta, tutawapanga na ajira.
With the implementation of the Better Economic Plan top on the Kenya Kwanza administration, the head of state vowed to put at least 20 new markets within the capital, aimed at creating a conducive environment for the traders.
I want to have at least one, if not two, if not three ICT hubs. Ndio vijana wetu tuwapange na ajira. Nimetembea mahali nyingi duniani. Nimeenda Marekani, nimeenda Uingereza, nimeenda Ujerumani. Rais wa Ujerumani alikuwa hapa, rais wa Korea alikuwa hapa, marais karibu 15 tayari wametutembelea, na tumekubaliana na wao wako na nafasi ya ajira.
John Matava, Lookuptv.
Well, thank you very much, John Matava, for that particular story. That story takes us on a short break, but we'll be back to, of course, have a conversation surrounding the universal health coverage and, of course, even matters of politics, including, by the way, the bipartisan team which now retreats to Naivasha to draft their report. So don't go away.
Introducing the Kenya Trade Fair Fusion Sales Drive event in the heart of Nairobi at the Kenya National Archives. It's not just an event, it's sales generation with a remarkable return on investment. Get ready to let your booth do the talking as you study new market trends with lots of entertainment featuring traditional live bands, DJs and artists. For vendor registration, call 0724-715-334 or 0713-907-584 or 0723-861-173.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us. It is already getting heated here in the studio. Remember, this particular morning I'm joined by political analyst Eric Mungai. Very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Keitany. It's nice to see you.
I'm back.
I saw Simba Kiage. The heat is too much here. He decided to disappear into the village.
He went to the village to you know.
But karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
It's us now to welcome you.
Thank you very much.
You know, this is where we cook things. And this is where, when things are cooked, we serve the nation.
Pretty much.
Thank you.
Nothing more. Mr. Brian Rono, thank you very much for making time to be with us.
It's good to see you. I thought you were hosting the show sometimes back, only to come here and realize it was Simba. But I knew Simba would have a problem because he had to go and re-energize with Samatoke in Kisii. But you've said clearly he's in Kisii, so I hope he's going to spread the word that the president is doing well. Because that is what Ragalo doesn't want to hear. But it is well. I mean.
Yeah, but I was here and then
it's good that we are here to probably look at those matters of national importance. But we look at it objectively, and I hope that at some point we are able to agree, because we are all hardliners at some point. But how does it help?
At the end of the day, this country belongs to us.
Work must get done.
Yes. Mr. Eric Ragalo, good morning.
Morning. Quite happy. Gor Mahia won.
By an offside goal, though.
They won. They won. Even RUTO won with an offside goal.
You had.
No, you did.
And they still keep making noise to us that we recognize. We recognize what? So if you don't want to recognize Gor won, then why do I recognize that RUTO won?
Who said we don't recognize that Gor?
So anyway, Gor Mahia won against Tusker. South Africa
won against England.
Why start very nicely? They won against France.
Then went ahead.
Then they won against England.
Question is, will they win against New Zealand? The All Blacks.
I pray that it's going to be a tough one. But I think we already saw the World Cup final for rugby yesterday.
It was a good comeback.
That was a final. The loss to England was the slimmest. But I want to congratulate the team. More so, I want to congratulate the bull himself, who came 30 minutes late. Prop, the big man of the scrum. You know, naambia wa Kenya ndio wajue hii kitu ni nini. So Kenyans, please don't watch politics za uongo. Ati wa Kenya waende wafanye kazi Algeria, Nigeria, wapi. Next week, tuende tuone England and New Zealand wakicheza South Africa. For the first time, let's be Africans to hold on Africans. Hii uongo ya Kenya tuondokee kidogo. Kenyans, by the way, umerealize hii meteorology hakuna El Nino. Fanya kazi. Hiyo ilikuwa uongo ingine, lakini sasa I don't know. Hii Kenya ina uongo bro, lakini tutakula tu uongo. Hebu tungoje uongo ingine inakuja ni gani?
We'll talk about that, including the El Nino rains and now that
one day we will list the number of uongos. In 5 years we will list and it will be 1,000 and thousands of Wongo. We will list from the first Wongo to the last one.
We'll definitely talk about that, Mr. Ragalo. We'll talk about that.
I mean, Ian, what Ragalo is saying is not true, because we have people, meteorological departments in the United States that are more developed and more advanced than ours in Kenya. But you see, they normally give courses of tornadoes where it's going to go through. But at some times it changes course and makes landfall in another area.
But the tornado happens. No, so the wind changes course. But Kenya, look, tornado happens.
But, yes, but
okay. You see, but here, El Nino was to happen.
It happened.
End of September. Question. No, bro, you are. Let me use this word.
Okay, okay.
In 1997,
fair enough.
I was an adult enough, though I was in secondary school, and this guy was actually, sorry to use this word, kindergarten. You understand? So when he talks of El Nino, he doesn't know what El Nino is.
You see,
El Nino is total rain.
Yes, but they have explained that it
so there is no sporadic El Nino, bro.
But see, Ragalo,
learn from the best. We were there when El Nino was in 1990.
The issue is as well. Yes,
what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, Mr. Brian Rono, Mr. Ragalo, order, please. But you know, you don't in the government's defense, Mr. Ragalo, the alert was also issued by IGAD.
Yes.
On you know the region, you know, setting the region is set to experience El Nino rains.
I'm talking of Kenya.
But it was.
Let me tell you.
But it was,
when we talk South Africa beat England, we can see. When you tell us El Nino,
fair enough.
Let us see El Nino. When you tell us Mkate will be 70, let's see Mkate at 70.
The only thing
Israel is fighting Hamas now, Mkate cannot come down. You know your story ilianza juzi sana. On Sunday, walianza story ati tena Hamas na Israel wanafanya economy siteremuke.
Okay, fair enough. We'll talk about that. I want us to begin.
You know, the worst and the most annoying thing to Kenyans is wanadanganywa kutoka January to January.
We'll talk about that.
Sisi watu tuseme tu kweli moja siku moja, tunaweza anza tushukuru Mungu, at least tulisikia ukweli.
We'll talk about that. Let's begin with matters healthcare, because that is the hottest topic in the country as we speak.
Yes, hiyo ni story ingine.
I'd want to begin with you.
Yes.
Now,
good.
In this particular program, the president himself signed 4 bills into law.
Yes.
Assented them into law last week.
Yes.
The 4, which includes Social Healthcare Insurance Act, the Digital Health Act, the Primary Healthcare Act, and the Facility Improvement Financing Act. Now, all these are said to help the president in achieving his healthcare dream, which is, you know, ensuring that each and every Kenyan is able to get proper medical care in the country, regardless of your status. Now, through these laws, NHIF is going to be abolished, and now there's the contribution is capped at 2.75%.
It's going to rise. Just use the right word, rise.
Okay,
yes.
Let me finish.
Double the one we pay.
Let me finish. 2.75%.
Yes.
Now, that is the contribution of those Kenyans who are salaried. Those Kenyans who don't have salaries will contribute 300 shillings. Now, question is, will the government be able to ensure that, will the government be able to implement this particular universal health coverage program to start with?
Thank you very much, brother. What was wrong with the NHIF?
One would want to say.
What was wrong with the system we have today? What has changed in the system that is being applied? The name has changed. Nothing has changed. When you look at the leveling of healthcare in Kenya, we start from level 1 to level 6. Level 1 basically is the community level, where we used to have CHWs. The name changed to CHEW, choose. Okay? They have been there. They have collected data. Who are the CHEWs? The healthcare workers are primarily from the public health. And the CHEWs, during Kibaki time, they were even bought pikipikis. they would go to homesteads. What is their function? They follow up patients even at home to follow up what you call DOT. DOT strategy is implementation of drug taking on patients. Direct, observe, nini. So, they follow patients. I'll give you an example. A TB patient who takes drugs for TB. How do you follow a TB patient to ensure TB is taken care of erratically? You follow the patient at home. If I was positive and Eric and Rono will live together, and Eric and Rono here don't go to take their TB prophylaxis drugs, they choose level 1 will go home and make sure Eric and also Nani should take that, because Eric here was diagnosed positive. He's taking his 6 months drugs, but then they have also to follow. So this thing has not changed. 1. 2, the bills are many. They're around 4 bills. Second, building of resources, which is good. If you look there, there's where construction will be done. How many level 2s do we have? Do you know that there are so many health centers that were created and were built by the other governments? It started with Kibaki, then came Uhuru, and now RUTO. How do we make sure they work before we even build more? Have you stopped the influxes, not influx, the avalanche of nurses living in Kenya, out of this country? And where are they living? You know, our country has become a productive country of taking people to school, but not harnessing their intellect here. So people are living. You're using so much money to train Eric as a nurse. Eric finishes school. In 2 years, Eric is outside this country to America, which didn't train Eric. And now America is getting Eric to work for them, whereas he should have worked in Kenya. Why is he living? I'm giving an example of Eric because he understands better than Rono. Rono will start making noise here. You know, I'm not beating the government. I'm not beating the government. I'm just giving the idea. 1, employ them. 2, give them good remuneration. 3, factor their livelihood. So some of these things are going. Level 3 hospital, because it is level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 4 is not there. You understand?
Yes.
Level 3 is health center level. Are we not treating people in health center? During Kibaki's time and Uhuru time, and remember, this scheme, Ngilu started. A woman was supposed to give birth. Is it for free? And they giving birth for free. Of course, they have Linda Mama. They are giving birth for free. Are kids taken care of up to 5 years for free? They are taken care of for free. Are you understanding? Mm-hmm. So, when you tell me you're going to treat people for free at level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 is someone charged at level 1. I've never heard. Maybe in Europe, not in Kenya. Because that's what I'm telling you, in Kenya, watu ambiane ukweli. At level 2, are people charged? Maybe 20 bob ya kuandikisha, maybe. And that was the time of Gili. The last time I heard, watu walikuwa wanalipa 20. Then later ikakuwa free. So which free are we talking about, which is not there?
There are costs, Mr. Agalo, that someone must incur to get treatment in this facility.
Which free,
regardless.
Which payment is done at health center level, which I've never heard. Tujifanye tu wajinga, tufikirie ni nini inalipangwa kwa health center.
So in your opinion, Mr. Agalo, if today you're not feeling okay, you can walk into any health center, be treated of whatever sickness you're suffering
yes.
from, without parting with anything.
Yes, people are treated for free. Level 1, live at health center, level 1 community level. Who is charged anything at level 1? Who? And this thing has been going. It's not that ati ndio inaanza. Nimesikia kukisemekana tunaanzisha, hatuanzishi, tunaendeleza. We're just making it better. Let's use the right language, right wordings.
But the government is pumping in more money.
More money for what? For what?
I mean, if the government cannot pump in money,
when you're telling people to go be treated for free, money they have been paying for what?
If the government cannot pump in more money, then
they're pumping for
those people cannot be treated
for what? So why now they are not being treated when money is not
pumped? To buy
pumped?
medication.
Right now, they're not being treated.
To buy medication, for example.
Medication
where was
is
that
more,
medication to come?
Which medications?
Where was the medicines?
Which medications?
If I told the government
which medications, bro?
Mr. Roma.
Which medications?
Let me respond.
Which is always given at level 1, level 2. And the medication, let me tell you. Okay, let him continue.
Ragalo, you see, Ragalo is beating around the bush on this issue because he's going to the history of how the health facilities have been operating. He's not alive to the fact that this is first a devolved function. That is what we need to appreciate. That health is fully devolved, and there are dynamics in the health sector, because even as we speak right now, if you go to the county of Uasin Gishu and you go to the county of Baringo, if you go to Uasin Gishu, the Linda Mama scheme is working. A woman would give birth, okay? After giving birth, they would track that child up to 5 years.
Yes.
After giving birth in that health facility maternity, they are given a token. You are given something, is it a blanket, a bag, and a diaper, and then they make sure the mother is okay. And in fact, it is so defined in the county of Uasin Gishu such that you are not allowed to carry that patient to the other hospital, whether to referral hospital, to mother and baby, using your car, because when there is any complication when they are performing that operation of birth, you have to be given an ambulance by the hospital. So that is the story. But you see, what the president has done is to streamline the services into law. And I want to go one by one. When you have this, he has talked about community health workers, which is okay, but now you see we cannot live in the past. You know, maybe he's a traditional medical doctor. Yeah, they've lived in the traditional medicine. And he's angry because there was that issue about Baba Care. So I understand the frustration.
The question is, which free is going to be done, which has not been done?
When you say, we had first challenges that had to be streamlined. The challenges
These
to
things
do
are free.
with KEMSA.
They have been free.
You remember there was a lot of issue with KEMSA? And in fact, hospitals could not even get needles. You are told, if you go to Baringo County Referral Hospital, you are told to go buy a needle so that you come and get treated. You see, those are the challenges that the counties have as a result of KEMSA. So KEMSA, there were issues with KEMSA and the corruption and the sort. But those issues are now being addressed when the president did some changes and shake up. But remember, there is one introduction of a very important service in Kenya called telemedicine and digital health services, where you can consult a doctor at the comfort of your home, all right? And you get prescription at the comfort of your home. Then you go to any chemist where you want and buy it, or you go to wherever government chemist and get it. But there was no law that was governing that service of digital delivery of health service. Right? So the possibility of having challenges of leakage of information, health information, which are actually very important, the patient-doctor confidentiality is very important. And it was not covered, I say covered in terms of data, in law. It was not anchored in law. And that is why the president and the Kenya Kwanza administration saw it fit to anchor this telemedicine and digital health service into law. Number two, because he's beating around the bush, he's discussing the story. I know he loves history. No, this guy loves history, but it is okay. Number two, I want to address it directly to the bills that are there. The Facility Improvement Financing Bill, 2023, that was ascended by the president. He's saying that any monies raised through this facility must be channeled back to improving those facilities, the health facilities in Kenya. For instance, anything raised from those hospitals or through the contribution of these people, all right? Any contribution that is associated with health must be channeled back to health so that it does not come to the national treasury, then it is used to finance something else, all right? Okay? Now, there is nothing free. There is nothing in this society and economy. When we say it is free, it is a free service to the person securing the service, but it is at a cost to the government.
Hold on to that.
All right? It's at a cost to the government.
Okay.
Now, I was coming to the last one.
Okay.
The primary healthcare bill. Now, there were community health workers. All right? They used to track the tuberculosis. There were those who even tracked the issues about HIV. But Ragalo is talking about a very specific disease, an example of TB, maybe chronic diseases, okay, that you have to, that are highly contagious, all right? But there is no provision that these people would just randomly visit a home. We are going to talk about the challenges, which the challenges are there and that we foresee, but he has not talked about somebody just visiting your home without necessarily thinking that there's somebody who's a patient or sick in this home, all right? Because there are people who have high blood pressure, there are people who have blood sugar levels, have a problem. So these health workers who are being now sent to the field are now visiting your home state without necessarily, without the information that there is somebody sick. Then they are able to first educate. You know, it is not, it's not about going to treat. First is to educate, then test, all right? And then now treat, diagnose. But he wants to put around the bush about the stories of the past. Because I know Baba is still a traditional medicine man. That is why this guy has a...
Mr. Mungai, Ragalo was talking about you understanding matters health much more than, you know, anyone else. Now, the 2.75% contribution, is it too high?
Well, thank you, Keitany. You know, for there is nothing that politicians love more than, especially the opposition politicians, more than hearing that a levy will be charged, because then it is a focal rallying point for opposition politics. I heard Baba yesterday comment about the cost of living. But the reality is, as we speak today, even NHIF is charged, either whether you are in formal employment or whether you are in informal employment. And so what will happen is that the NHIF Act now has been repealed through the 4 acts that Brian has explained. And maybe even for purposes of clarity and for purposes of, because sometimes when you jump into the 2.5% and you just go ahead and discuss the 2.5 without discussing what is getting into this 2.5%, then you're likely to mislead the viewers and Kenyans into believing that overtaxation is happening to them. And let me give you an example. If you read the Constitution, especially under Article 43(2), Kenyans are entitled to emergency medical care. But for the longest time, you have seen that media stations have ran stories of accident victims who have gone to a hospital and the hospital has refused to accept them without a deposit of, say, 300,000, 500,000, etc., etc. And so even sometimes we've had huge outcry from, you have a patient and the patient dies in your hands because a hospital has refused to accept them. Now, what the Social Health Insurance Fund is coming to do is that it is divided into 3 components. And it is important that Kenyans understand where the money is going. Then now we can have a proper discussion of whether 2.5% is a lot or it's actually 2.75 is actually a lot or it's something that we can manage. I've told you, under that act, there is the Emergency Chronic and Critical Illness Fund.
True.
Now that fund guarantees that you will not go to a hospital under an emergency condition and be turned away. And that is very key because remember, no one plans for accidents. And especially if the poor, you remember when the former CS Raphael Tuju had an accident, his first point of call was Kijabi Hospital. Okay. Now, any Kenyan would want to go to the nearest hospital to seek treatment. And therefore, what this fund guarantees under the institutions that will participate is that no Kenyan will ever be turned away on an emergency response. And that, I think, in my opinion, is a very good start, especially when you anchor it in law and when you provide funds for it.
Exactly, even those undergoing chemotherapy,
radiotherapy. Yes, so they will be factored under these, okay? Now, the other issue is the Social Health Insurance Fund, which is under this, okay? And this one runs from, level 4 to 6. And Ragalo is an expert in this. He might know which levels go into where. And then, of course, there is the Primary Health Care Fund that, levels 1 to 3. So, in essence, what the government is saying is that, yes, we are taking the 2.75%, but this is money that will be useful to you in this way or the other way. And maybe lastly is to say this. One of the issues, especially on the Primary Health Care Act, that really excites me, you know, we've had stories of men who've died in the line of duty. I mean, those stories are all over. And why? Because a man is suffering from high blood pressure and they do not know. We saw a recent story. We saw a story the other day of, we have actually lost a lot of men in the line of duty. And so what this act does is that with the community health workers, it is now no longer reactive, it is proactive. So what that would mean is that there is a proper legal framework for the county and national government to engage community health workers. Because remember, they will also be collecting data. And this data, it is key that that data is protected. Because you do not want community health workers coming to measure your blood pressure. And at the end of the day, they are reporting to the whole village that hata ukiona so and so, kumbe anakuanga mgonjwa, magonjwa yenye hata mimi siwezi sema. So it provides a legal framework, one, for your data to be protected, but most importantly, it is proactive. And then maybe lastly, the aspect of community health worker is important because of the aspect of palliative care. Now, most of the times when you're in several stages of critical illnesses, you know, the nurses and the doctors know that, you know, what we are doing is palliative. You might not come back to the way you are normally. And what this act now provides for is that palliative aspect, that even when you go home, there is a palliative aspect to the community health policy. So in my opinion, and the reason why I wanted us to bring all that across is because then when you just look at 2.75, you lose the bigger picture of what that money actually does. Mm-hmm. But that is to say also, we have known for a long time, because the four acts, all of them have funds appropriated to them. It is just that the one for social health is the one that is touching on Kenyans' pocket. But the rest of those others are appropriated by Parliament and medical institutions.
Mr. Mungai, you just before I come to you, Mr. Agalo, you might say 2.75%, that particular contribution might not be that high, considering what, you know, these particular, the new additions mm-hmm. and services that Kenyans might get. But how do you convince me that with the contribution that I've been making, and I don't get proper medical attention, because mm-hmm. we have people who, despite making contributions, do still pay to get ambulance services, despite making contributions. So why would I pay more? Yet already the contribution that I'm making, I'm even parting more with more from my pocket instead of what I'm contributing into the fund helping me.
Let me explain why you wouldn't really want to pay more. You know, sometimes when it comes to the issue of taxation, no one really wants to pay more, okay? I mean, except for Agalo, I haven't seen anyone who wants to pay tax or who wants to be taxed more.
But
the issue is this. So what has happened is that, you know, for NHIF, most of the times it used to cater for the bed and for a few services, but Kenyans would have to cough up a majority of the money. And so what this act has done is that it has sort of divided the services, and you're very sure which services you're going to get legally emanating. Of course, the minister has the leeway to keep on making policies and interventions regarding this fund. So the reason why I feel that even though any Kenyan would not want to pay more, but why it is important to pay more to the kitty is so that we can get more services. But as Brian said, there is likely to be challenges, especially when you see how NHIF has been run and how hospitals sometimes have colluded to extort from the fund, and how sometimes even the fund itself is not able to offer services to Kenyans. There are likely to be also some challenges. That is not, we will also have challenges with the new creation of the acts as to where we will get honest Kenyans to run those institutions. I do not know, and I highly recommend that because Ragalo is very good at, making sure that funds are not stolen. Maybe they should consider him as chairman of.
I will not be employed by RUTO anytime.
Of one of those.
I cannot work under him.
Maybe we'll get another Kenyan.
Okay,
I thought he's an honest man, but he's just proving he's not.
I wouldn't work under
him. So we
him.
can get. The thing is, it is not really about whether Kenyans will get services. I think to me the major question is, if we can get honest men and women who can run the fund with integrity and who can appropriate the monies to the services that the money is due to be deployed to. I think to me that is the key question. As to whether or not we want to pay more, no one really wants to pay more.
Okay. Mr. Ragalo.
Yes.
Before you contribute, I just have one question.
Okay.
Is the 2.75% new tax?
Is a lot. It's new tax.
New tax?
Now,
you'll respond.
It already came that side. These guys are two, I'm one. They are UDA, I'm azimio. They are two, they are I'm one.
Here to moderate.
They are not Kenyans. They are not Kenyans.
What do you mean they are not Kenyans?
They are not Kenyans. They are UDA.
Is it new tax?
So it is new tax. It has never been there, and it is expensive. Why would I say it's expensive? There is what you call repeat of the same things that have always been done. What has been done is changing the name, but not the functions. Primary health care has been there. Emergency management of patients has been there. Actually, it is said that this has been anchored into different laws, but they have been in the law. It is wrong for a Kenyan to go for services, you don't offer emergency services, and you could see what happened to Coptic Hospital. I will name it. When a Kenyan died, having passed through them, they did not manage that Kenyan. The story was all over. And they were charged. Okay? So these things have been there. There's nothing under the sun that has changed. The social health insurance, whatever, has been there. He's talking about patients going home, they are followed as hospice, something like that. It has always happened. And you can see the leveling. Sometimes KNH can tell you, now go to the nearest facility to be managed. There is, a patient can go up, then patient can come up to the lowest facility. So that under the lowest facility, now you're managed near home. In primary health care, there is even the family coming together to manage a patient. So these things of BP and what have you have been there. You know, I'm a medic. I'm not talking out of the blues, boss. They have been there. The issue is, we would have done it better. I'll give you an example now.
But under which legal framework?
Let me. They have been in the legal. They have been in the legal framework. They have been in the legal framework.
No, Ragalo, just quote the legal framework. Just quote the legal. I'm just helping you explain.
Because something has been put under the law, now you look at it as a very big thing. They have been in the legal framework.
Why did UHC not succeed?
From Ruiru, bro, you've never seen a community health worker?
No, I have not. In my village, I have not, Ragalo. Where? Now you are disputing. Where?
I'll put your head down and ask. Go ahead.
But that is exactly the point. I don't need to ask.
If you're a leader and you don't know, then you are not.
No. I'm not saying I don't know.
Okay, thing is,
I've not seen them.
So
okay, fair enough.
What I was saying, now we are taxing one another. The salaried guys, you tax them 2.75%, double what NHIF is taxing right now. Okay? Because NHIF has now also gone up, then now this one is even going higher. It is bottom up. This is the life we live in right now. Unga bottom up. Sukari bottom up. Steamer bottom up. Healthcare bottom up.
Ragalo, let me
so
ask
now,
just for you to help you explain.
Baringo,
does healthcare cost the same now as it did 5 years ago?
Baringo, how many salaried people in Baringo? I'm not asking him. I'm giving now an example from where he comes from. And the reason why I'm asking is this. How many non-salaried are in Baringo? Do you know, I'll give an open example, I'm not so sure. You could find Baringo has 15% salaried, and the remaining 85% are not salaried. So you want to treat people in Baringo. Now let's see.
there are people who will be taxed. This is what Kenya is all about. You tax, because Rono is employed, he's taxed more to treat Eric. So you're punishing employment ya Rono, because being employed in Kenya now has become a curse. Everything is employment. People who housing fund, the employed are more taxed.
Mr. Regalo.
You know, how do you quantify for me? Just listen.
Just a minute.
That's salary to pay 300, salary to pay 2.75%, which is be around 2,000.
Fair enough.
The question is,
fair enough.
You know there are unsalaried who are richer than salaried?
Okay. We'll come back to that.
Unsalaried who is richer than salaried, who is paying 300?
We'll come back to that just in a moment.
Let
me engage
just to educate him. There is a means test to determine how one is how affordable one is likely to pay.
Fair enough. You know? Okay, Mr. Regalo. Okay, relax.
You've asked us, or me in particular, whether the 2.75% is a lot of money or it's a high increase. Remember, in the current contribution scheme, most of those people who are salaried do not really depend on NHIF so much, especially the middle class and going up. Most of them do not really highly dependent on it. It is a requirement by law to make contribution, NHIF contribution. Right? NHIF, NSSF, those are the two, and the payee, of course.
By the way, anybody who will default paying will now be fined at least 2% of the defaulted amount.
Now, if you do the calculation and look at the way we have been paying NHIF, you realize it is about 1.6 something percent, 1.66%, 1.67%. So an increment in 1% is what is pricking the minds of people like Ragalo. Because if you see 1.6% plus another 1.1%, it is 2.7. So 1.1% to cater for the bigger majority of people who are not in employment, to cater for the bigger majority of Kenyans who are unemployed, because we know the rate of unemployment in Kenya, true or false? And how many people are in business in this country? How many people in county of Samburu are doing business? How many people in county of Turkana are doing business? You cannot say 100% are doing business. The majority of the people especially the young people who are unemployed, have now been given an opportunity to save 200 from 500. But they've been told this contribution, which they are now calling tax, which I don't call it tax because it's a contribution. They never used to call it tax. When it was 500. When it was a flat rate, they never say it is a tax. And by the way, it has not been a flat rate, it has been progressive, right? The more you earn, the higher you pay. So when you put it at 2.7% to take care of the unemployed, the person who is unemployed to get medical services, where is the problem with that? Because an increase in 1.1% and it is progressive as per what you pay. So this country requires us to sacrifice for even other people. We don't have to be selfish that now this 1.1%, they are taking too much away from me. You see? And I'm telling you for free, had it been Babake, I would be paying 5% right now.
Question is,
I'm telling you,
if you earn 100,000 and you take 2.7%, 2.75, that's 2750.
2750.
You're saying really you cannot contribute.
And imagine,
question is, but my concern is, yes, Mr. Rono, my concern is, yes, there might be no problem with you parting with 2,750, 1,700, whatever amount.
Correct.
But the question is, are those funds going to be used for the purpose that is meant?
Now,
let me just finish. Because according to statistics, yes, NHIF loses around 10 billion shillings to fraudulent claims each year.
Fraudulent claims. And those claims, most of them are coming from private hospitals. Take it to the bank. Most of them are coming from private hospitals. And that is why I say the only challenge that we may face, and I love the way the president said. The president said that we are going to stamp out corruption in this country, right? Which is a very important statement with relation to the collection of funds. He said, ask me when you lose your funds, which I find as a statement that dictates authority to manage funds. Okay?
And fidelity to the law.
Fidelity to the law, fidelity to this contribution. Now, if the challenges that I wanted to raise are those ones, that what Eric has said and what Ragalo would want to happen so that they have now an agenda for the 2027 campaign. After all, Wameruka Kalonzo. It was a lie. So when they tell us we are lying, they should tell us why they endorsed Kalonzo and ran away again. But that is a story for another day.
We'll come to that.
Now, I wanted to say that if these funds are collected, then we need the management of those funds to be very, the integrity of those people managing those funds to be unquestionable. But there are so many factors. You will talk about integrity of these funds, but we will talk about the structure and operation of the different health facilities in the whole of this country as per the county. Because I have given you an example and a comparison between Uasin Gishu and Baringo County. Where in Baringo County, the people in Baringo County are no longer going to dispensaries and health facilities in Baringo County. Instead, they are going to Uasin Gishu. In fact, there are so many people who are going to give birth in Uasin Gishu and Nakuru than those who would want to be treated in Baringo. Now, you see, you cannot give a level ground for all the counties in terms of operation and management of their health facilities. That is where the problem is, because you'll find a health facility where it will be affected. You actually have the card, you have the means, and you have the money, but you are not able to access that service because the health workers in that facility are not interested in working, or all of them are on leave. Or you find a senior medical doctor is away for 2 years on study leave, and the rest of the junior staff are not working, right? And that is where the challenge happen? That is in Baringo, I'm telling you. But you see, those are the challenges.
And what are you doing? What are you doing as Baringo?
What we are doing as Baringo, that is what he's asking, because they are governors, and that is why I'm happy. Even the governors from the Nyanza region, the Azimio governor said, would want to work with this government. We will be happy to work with this government, despite what the MPs are saying.
What has Baringo done? Because that claim is so bad that a senior medical officer is out for 2 years for medical leave. I'm wondering what he's studying for 2 years. Because if it is masters is 5 years.
Fair enough.
So what is studied in 2 years in medicine? I don't know. He knows.
Now you see, and
then those junior workers are not working because the doctor is not there. Why is he lying?
I mean,
unajua umetoka kwa hema ya uongo.
The laxity, no, bwana.
Ongea ukweli.
I'm talking about the laxity of the operation of these hospitals. That is where we have a difference. And that is why you'll find there are other counties where health facilities are the best, and you'll find there are other counties where the health facilities, the operation of health facilities are very poor. So that will be a challenge to the implementation of this law, unless now the counties decide that we want to support the president, which is very important. And I would wish that all the governors from Kenya Kwanza are made to do that, because the Azimio have said they want to work with the president, which is a good thing. So I feel like those are some of the challenges: the corruption and these health facilities that we have in these counties that have.
It's important that you've touched on corruption, and Mr. Mungai, I want to hear from you. The president, as I said, is if any money is lost, you go ask him.
Yes.
You'll ask him that question, and he said he will fight corruption by whatever means, and it's good. But I want to pose a question to you. The same president. And it's good because this is also in regards to it's also regards to the health sector in the country. There's one person, Ms. Terry Ramadhani.
Who?
Terry Ramadhani was implicated in the Kemsa mosquito net scandal, worth billions of shillings. She was suspended by the CS for Health. But a couple of weeks ago, despite being suspended on grounds of the flawed procurement process and being involved in the embezzlement of funds, she was appointed by the president to be Kenya's deputy ambassador to Delhi in India. So how do you convince me as a Kenyan that yes, as a president, you're committed to tackling corruption and embezzlement of public funds when you're appointing the same people who've been sent packing on grounds of corruption and embezzlement of funds?
I love the way Ragalo is looking at me. He imagines I do not have an answer.
Awish is always very scared. Awish is very scared because he's going to witch us.
Ragalo, I was not calling you for you to jump into the debate. I've just seen the kind of eye you are sending this. But let me say this. Yes, but let me say this. There is a difference between being implicated and being suspected of being corrupt. And we must be careful as a country, because you see, Ian, I might not like you, and I might say you are corrupt, but my saying I suspect you of being corrupt does not necessarily mean that you actually are. It takes due legal process for us to establish that indeed Ian is a corrupt person. Now, if you look at the specific example that you have given, you remember that KEMSA case, there is a CS who was sacked. Not a CS, a PS who was actually sacked. In fact, that PS comes from my village. And as we speak today, she has not been reinstated anywhere else. If you look at the issue of water and the reshuffle that happened the other day, there are CEOs that it was alleged they were corrupt, and EACC was investigating them. Now, one of the CSAs had actually gone to the extent of defending one of the CEOs. And there was a tussle until the head of public service had to intervene and send the CEO packing, which again led to the reshuffle of those cabinet secretaries. And what is my point going into this? My point is, we must not behave like the former regime that came out with a list of 100 people, which led even to the sacking of Charity Ngilu then as a CS. I think she was CS for lands.
Yes.
And then later,
the handshake and Mohammed Swazuri.
Yes, and later EACC came back and said, the same EACC which had produced the list, they came and said, you know, we had no case against those people. Now, those people had had their names tarnished. Those people had had their names go down the drain, and then EACC comes and says, you know, we had nothing against these people. We must be careful not to politicize the issue of corruption, but at the same time, we must guard against the image that as the UDA government, we are defenders of corruption. And that is to say that when the president says, please hold me to account on this social health scheme, I agree with him. And that is why I said, and I made a statement here and said, I do not know for a fact where we will get Kenyans, because it's not the president who run all those funds or all those institutions. And I said, I do not know where we will get honest Kenyans, Kenyans with some level of probity who can actually run these institutions. And you know why, Ian? Because sometimes when I am alone, I have imagined that maybe in every Kenyan, there is some element of theft. And maybe what we are lacking is an opportunity to exercise the degree to which we can be able to steal. I saw an accident somewhere on a road where a lorry ya mchele ilianguka. And I saw someone with a very nice vehicle in a suit stopping the vehicle to go and take a bag of mchele, put in his boot and drive away. And I asked myself, if this Kenyan were to be appointed to the social fund as a manager, if he is wearing a suit and he can steal rice, what will he do to our funds? And therefore, Keitany, I know the president has made a solemn assurance to fight corruption. But I am equally concerned because I thought it's only Ragalo who has been left who means well for this country, but he's just said he's not. So now I do not know where we'll get a Kenyan. Maybe Brian is because sometimes when I think of myself, I even suspect myself. But it's a lot of hard work. I can tell you it's a lot of hard work to get Kenyans who mean well, because if private hospitals can steal from NHIF, if they can go towards, you see the scandal we had in Meru, where they were going registering women, taking them to hospitals.
Around 8 hospitals are suspended.
Around 8 hospitals and stealing from. And they were using our fathers, our mothers, and our grandparents in the village to steal from NHIF. I think, honestly, I do not know who the president will employ in accordance with those acts, but I think there is a call on us Kenyans, not just the president, but on us Kenyans to be vigilant and to make sure that no money gets lost. That is the only way I would put it, because honestly,
I wish to believe the president, but I can't. I can't believe him.
Why not?
On the reason of, if we need, the language he said is that, if any money is lost, ask me. then I am tempted to ask him, when you told us you're going to reduce the cost of living, we ask you. When you told us you're not going to raise taxation, we raised it to 16%, we ask you. When you told us stima haitapanda, right now, to have electricity is more expensive, we ask you. When you told us healthcare will be free, we ask you, is it free? Will it ever be free? When you told us school fee will be free, you doubled or made school fee more expensive, we ask you. So the question is, when you tell me to ask you, and what you did, when you told us that mkate itakuwa 70 bob, unga itapungua, we still ask you, even today. When you told us that you will make sure your government is meant with mama mbogas and watu wa baiskeli, we are saying them. Where is mama mboga in your cabinet? When you told us you will not have a bloated government, we still ask you, what changed? When you told us you're going to make sure expenditure in the government is going to be as minimal as possible in State House alone, what happened? So when you tell us to ask you that money will be lost here, I am not going to ask you. Reason, I don't want to be shocked. You understand? So the thing is, show us the way. If you are a father, you lead, we follow. We believe in your steps. So the prudency of believing in your steps should have started a year ago. Second year, telling us to ask you. We are asking you, when mafuta ya kupikia ililetwa na kampuni za mafuta ziko Kenya, we ask you, what would have happened with those companies? You know, we are not going to ask. What we are going to ask is this: reduce cost of living, reduce taxation. Do we need 2.7% healthcare? Maybe not. We need to just do it better.
Maybe.
In NHIF, and workers to work better. Did Kibaki raise so much taxes?
Yes.
I'm asking, did so much? No, I didn't say he
Yes.
didn't raise
Yes.
so much tax. He did.
Yes, he did.
He
Because
made it better.
how would he?
And this is what I'm saying. When you go to economy, there's something called the Laffer curve. L-A-F-F-E-R. Laffer curve says that whatever you are taxing people should be commensurate. Yeah, English, thank you. You wewe uzi Kiingereza, ile jamaa anaweza. Should be with what comes in. You understand? When you overtax us, you will not get the money that you expect because someone will get tired of even working. So that's why Kenya is going to bankruptcy, which we are.
Thing is, Mr. Agalo,
Let me finish, bro. Why are we going to bankruptcy? What we call stagflation. Stagflation is where there is no employment, there is high cost of living. Google stagflation.
No, we are not Googling because you're lying to us. We are actually coming out of those things you explained.
We are there. We are not living. So in that stagflation that we are in depression. We are not getting out of depression. So we are going. So how do you treat this? How do you treat this? How do you treat this? You keep us inflated high.
My question would be in regards to this universal health coverage, even as we wrap up the conversation surrounding health. It would only be fair, in as much as you'd want to argue, and someone would want to say 2.75% is high.
What have you done with the one that you
listen, in regards to the current economic situation. But It's a matter of wait and see whether the government can indeed ensure that, yes, with a 2.75% contribution that you're making, you will get proper healthcare services.
Okay, wait and see. Wait and see. The charges, electricity charges are up.
Forget about electricity.
But stima inapotea kila wakati.
Forget about
studio stima ipotea.
Forget about electricity.
In fact,
We're talking about healthcare. We're talking about healthcare.
Seriously.
We're talking about health because that is the most important thing. Your health is the most important thing.
Stima is part of health.
Relax.
ICU is run by Stima.
Relax. I'm telling you, it is only fair that we give the government a chance and then we see.
Which chance? The second year of their running, which chance are you giving them? When they have put all us in all that problem, which implementation?
The president just assented the laws last week on Thursday. So it's been, and Friday was,
but whatever we've given them for a whole 1 year, what have they done?
It will be fair.
Kazi kwa vijana,
that is their new strategy.
They killed Kazi kwa vijana. So which vijana are getting jobs when Kazi kwa vijana is killed? So which space are we giving them? Which space?
Ragalo, you are equally right up to what you've said.
Briefly before you break.
Yes, but Ragalo is speaking as if His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto has been a president for 10 years.
He is.
Right?
He is part of the government for 10 years.
He's not telling us. He's not telling us.
For
He
10 years
was
and you've credited. He's been deputy.
It's okay. Yes, it is okay. He was the principal assistant to the president, a substantial advisor to the president, principal assistant to the president between 2013 and 2017. After his brother came in, the other man who believes in traditional medicine went into a handshake with His Excellency.
Now that one is abusive. Now that one is abusive.
It is true.
That one is abusive.
Because we are now moving. If we are talking about healthcare,
I'm talking facts,
we are moving. And that is what I want to say.
Okay.
Now, they brought down this economy. They took the economy down the drain. And let me tell you something that people don't.
Kindly.
Yes.
Just hold on to that.
No.
A short break and then we come back. A short break. A short break.
Okay.
Yes. We're coming back in a moment because the conversation is getting heated. In a moment, we are just taking a short commercial break and then we'll be back in a moment.
On the 2nd and 3rd of November 2023, join thousands of leaders from across the country and beyond level. This premier leadership event, the Global Leadership Summit, will be hosted at Sitam Karen. World-class speakers at the summit this year include Pastor Craig Groeschel, the GLS champion, Condoleezza Rice, former Secretary of State of the United States of America, Pat Gelsinger, the CEO of Intel Corporation, Chris Methabula, South Africa, among others. Local speakers include Dr. David Oginde, the Chairperson of Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Dennis Njao, the Director of Payments and Retail Banking at Equity Bank Limited, Julius Kipngetich, the Group CEO, Jubilee Insurance, Margaret Sirma of the College of Health Science at Nairobi Hospital, George Njuguna, Director of Information and Technology at Safaricom PLC, Bishop Callisto Odede, the presiding Bishop of Christ is the Answer Ministries. Summit fee is Kenya shillings 2,900. Register now through paybill 825-500, account number GLS 2023. For more information, call 0722-490-325. Register now. The Global Leadership Summit. Lead where you are.
Introducing the Kenya Trade Fair Fusion Sales Drive event in the heart of Nairobi at the Kenya National Archives. It's not just an event, it's sales generation with a remarkable return on investment. Get ready to let your booth do the talking as you study new market trends with lots of entertainment featuring traditional live bands, DJs and artists. For vendor registration, call 0724-715-334 or 0713-907-584 or 0723-861-173.
Are you a business owner in the retail business of fast-moving goods in the market, and your goal is to boost and expand your business? Juhudi Kilimo, is now offering you financial support with super fast loans of up to 30,000 processed within 1 to 3 hours. All you need is your original ID, KRA PIN, 6 months M-Pesa statement, proof of permanent business and 2 guarantors. Visit any of our branches today or call us on 0709 692 000 or send an SMS to 20103 at no charge. Juhudi Kilimo, investing in farmers, transforming lives.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us. We're still talking matters of health just before we, change gears into matters politics. And Mr. Rono, you were talking about, the government's plan to implement the UHC coverage.
Yes.
Please go on.
Thank you. You catch me at a point where it was critical to respond to Ragalo, the guy who loves traditional medicine. Now, remember when the president came in, most of the government loans were maturing during that time, during the electioneering period. So by the time he came in, he was sworn in as the president of the Republic of Kenya. And in fact, he's a very good president and a very sharp president. He's smarter than all these guys you see making noise around. Except, of course, not in the medical field like him. But he's a botanical science scholar, so I think he'd fit into his shoes. So the president inherited an economy that was in a negative trajectory. It was going down the curve. It was going down the drain. So when Ragalo says this government has done nothing, I find it offensive because even as we speak, the price of unga is 180, as evidenced by everybody, and yet we have just harvested maize that were planted by government through government intervention on fertilizer. And they expect us to say now there's nothing the government has done. The bills have been signed into law on Thursday, last week. They want to see results. They want to see results before the process begins. That's the problem with the impatience that we have with people from Azimio. They want a result before the process. They want to see the results first. And that is why, even in their campaign manifesto, they didn't actually have a manifesto. They were talking about results without the process. And that is why the president went out and talked about the process of economic transformation. Despite the fact that that economy was in a negative trajectory, we are seeing some improvement because we are not borrowing as they borrowed before and looted the government. So as we talk about this universal health coverage, let us give it time because now the implementation starts from now. It is now anchored in law. It is a process that has been done through law. And let me tell you the problem with people like Ragalo and the people who think like him. It is exactly the same thing they did with BBI, where they went for the result without starting with the process and anchoring it into law and following the process of the law. And that is why the BBI failed, because even the courts rejected that process. The whole process. They didn't reject the result. The result was good. I mean, they wanted to play around with the result, but you see the process was flawed, was faulted. So Ragalo want to see the results without first accepting that there should be a process by starting anchoring it into the law and then now making it better. And remember, he's talking about community health workers. But remember, these others inclusive are community health promoters. The other health workers who are following up with people who have been identified as people who are suffering from a specific disease and so forth. But these other ones are the ones now going out. It is a proactive. The other one was reactive. It was an example of reaction to a process. There's an outbreak of TB, there's malaria in fact, there was a time there was an outbreak of malaria in Baringo. And so many people came from all over the world. Now we want to sort out this malaria issue. But remember this, now we are proactive. We want to see how these people are working. The president wants to see how are these people living in their households. Imagine they are sending them to the households to the point where they do not know whether they will find a problem, a disease, or somebody suffering or not. And I think it is time we now allow the president to implement, to make a team through the policies and through the law that has been made workable and actionable. Allow him now to process and wait for the result, because this may take time. It may not even take a month or so. It might take even 3 months for us to be able to see the results. And we have seen the results. We have seen
the health promoters all across the country, we have seen counties supportive of the program because they know what the program entails. So it is time we give them a chance to be able to do it.
Well, Mr. Regalo is wondering if it's still a mistake, but, you know, I want us to change gears.
Okay.
Let's put healthcare on the side for a moment.
All right.
Let's get a bit political.
That is where he comes in. Okay.
I want to begin with you, Mr. Mungani. Now, the bipartisan teams are set to retreat starting today in Naivasha to draft their report after, you know, holding several sessions, meeting with different stakeholders from, you know, different sectors who submitted their memoranda before the committee. But azimio are now saying they will keep off the, you know, drafting of that report if their concerns are not being addressed. Top on the list is lowering the cost of living. The question is, are they being genuine?
No. Azimio, the beauty about Azimio is their consistency in lying. So, because of their consistency, anything else they say falls into that cap. And let me just give you some history of inconsistency and why you would see that the Azimio team is actually lying to Kenyans. Last week while you were here, we raised an issue on the Mavoko tussle. And the clips went viral to an extent where we asked, why is Kalonzo, who is a senior counsel, not going to represent his people in a court of law? As a result of that, I saw Kalonzo and Wavinya Ndeti in court lodging the appeal. And guess who else was there? Raila Odinga went to protect the Kambas. You know, the majority of the people in that area are Kambas. But what shocked me, and this is why I'm talking about consistency, is that when there were Sondu killings and when there were Kericho-Kisumu clashes, we did not see Raila go there to defend or talk on behalf of his people. Now, it tells you of a man, and I speak of the man because even when you see Kalonzo on the table, Kalonzo actually represents Raila's interest and wishes. So this is a man who has been very consistent in making sure that he sabotages everything that seems to work. Now, last week or 2 weeks ago, the Azimio team in the bipartisan talks, they signed an agreement of sorts on the areas that they had spoken about, which included setting up of office of the official opposition leader, which we all know will go to which person. And then we also talked about the establishment of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. There is already a person seated in that position. And curiously, what was lacking in the whole list was the issue of cost of living. Now, remember when the former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, was here and they were crafting the agenda? Part of the crafting of the agenda, after having so many innocent Kenyans killed, excluded in the communique the issue of cost of living. As a result of the backlash that came from Kenyans, Azimio disowned the communique and issued another one saying that the cost of living should be on the agenda. Now they have gone ahead and there is an outcome in a process, and cost of living is not part of, despite Kenyans, you know, you must not forget, Kenyans died to fight for the issue of cost of living to come down. And what came out in the new communique, that the cost of living was actually not part of the conclusion. The conclusion was, let us agree on IBC, let us agree on the offices, and one of the offices will go to Ragalo's friend. Nothing to do with cost of living. Again, there is a backlash from Kenyans. So what is the Azimio team now trying to do? Same thing they did after the initial communique. They are now scrambling and said, we will not agree on this thing until and unless the issue of cost of living is on the table. This tells you of a consistent lying team whose work is to satisfy their followers with the rhetoric and hot air, but in the end I can tell you they are not interested in the issue of cost of living. I can also tell you that the issue of dismissing the results is just to make sure that their followers are in, you know the way a hyena follows a hand, hoping that the hand will drop. That is what the followers of the team now are being taken around, hoping that somehow the hand will fall and the hyena can eat. But as far as I'm concerned, so long as the office of the official opposition leader has been agreed upon, the rest of the things are hot here.
Mr. Ragalo, for the sittings or the sessions of that particular bipartisan team to begin, there were issues that were to be addressed. And the issue of the cost of living, just like Mr. Mongal put it, was not on the list of things to be talked about. If azimio was genuine in addressing the issue of the cost of living, why did they even get into the process and wait until when the report is set to be drafted for them to say, we'll keep off? Why wait for that long?
If you remember very well all the items that were on the table, and they actually talked of major issues on those items. Well, I want to ask you, with all honesty, and I'm looking at Eric, cost of living was not an issue.
It wasn't.
It was totally not there.
It wasn't.
Maybe the name cost of living was not written.
No, it was included after.
That's what I'm asking. You
After
know,
the
when you
backlash.
say it was not there, I'm looking at you and asking you.
Listen.
So it was there. Just
In
let
the
me
initial
continue.
list, it was not there.
It was not
Yes,
included
let me tell you.
after the backlash.
Listen. When you bring documents, you may not have it there. But documents were also brought later. You understand?
What is the main
so
thing,
I'll
Mr.
give you an example why. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example.
Okay,
let me give you an example.
Before you continue, during the anti-government demonstrations, and I was there, I attended one of those demonstrations, covered per se. The main issue was the cost of living. But
I was part of demonstration.
In fact,
the main issues were four. If you really were there. One, IBC.
Audit of the, yes.
Okay? Two, cost of living. Three,
office of opposition.
Bloated, pana. We were not talking about all those when we were in kwa maandamano. Yes, ngoja tu nimalize. Bloated government. Okay? Four, honesty. Ukweli. We were saying, someone says the truth and means what they say. Four, maiming and hurting of our people. So,
not your people, demonstrators.
They were our people.
Demonstrators.
They were our people. They are not your people.
No, it's
so
demonstrators because
they are our
they
people.
also looted from innocent.
They were our people. They were our people. You know, as we own our people, you run away from maiti yako. Ile ilikuwa maiti yetu. It was our people. So now, what happened when we went to the table? The government said that in their cabinet, they are sorting out cost of living. We are going to have a communique. So, and this was in the meeting. It was said, let's give them time. By the time about in the middle of all this thing, they will have brought down some of these costs. And I remember, it was said, unga tulipata mahali fulani tumeiteremusha, tupatie wakati tutaiteremusha zaidi. Okay? We are going to handle the taxations. But when we saw mchezo wa sarakasi na sinema za Wang Changli, then we asked, where is the cost of living? We are finishing, we've not seen this thing. So, again a story came, we don't have time. Let's go to parliament to ombe time. Who are the people who went to parliament to ask for time? Kalonzo requested parliament to give us another month.
They give him 60 days, yes.
Okay.
And by the way, Kimani Ichung'wah is seeking more time now.
You understand?
Yes.
So, the other thing is that we talked about, that leave our parties alone. Don't meddle in our party issues. And this I can tell you without batting an eyelid. If our minority whip still remains UDA, then we will not sign the document. It will be a UDA document. Let them do what they want to do with it. So don't meddle in our issues. Our issues are our issues. If I tell you I don't like this person, now it is our issues,
you should not even, you would want to ask why. Then we explain to you, did we tell you to give a decision?
Of course, there's the issue of, Sabina Chege being the deputy minority.
And not only that, leave Jubilee alone.
Okay, you're defending Jubilee.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm giving you a party.
Okay,
that things that is how Jubilee. That's how they wanted to meddle.
Jubilee. Sabina Chege was elected on was nominated by Jubilee Party.
By Jubilee Party.
Yes, correct. Yeah. And you're saying leave Jubilee alone because Jubilee was part of azimio.
Because Jubilee requested Sabina to be removed. Then why are you meddling on Jubilee issues? Leave Jubilee alone. If they want to change their whip and put Mwenje, what is your problem?
Okay,
Can't you work with Mwenje?
My question is,
what is your problem as UDA?
My question is, many Kenyans out there who are struggling with the harsh economic times, the high cost of living, don't really care about House leadership.
They care. They care. Parliament do everything. Cost of living is Parliament. And that is how Parliament is passing clauses to remove their function of being a watchman on government and leaving the government to procure, buy, and sell government property without passing through Parliament. They can do that when they have taken Sabina. Who is going to ask? Who is the whip to ask such things and to whip his people to go against such in Parliament? Who? Where is our whip? Is with them. So when we want to whip our people, who is whipping our people? Nobody. And that's why some of these things are passing. Is that not wrong to Kenyans? Is that not defiling Kenyans?
Has Jubilee Party suspended Sabina Chege?
They have.
Of course, there is the
they have even removed
who runs Jubilee at the moment?
They have.
Who runs Jubilee? Which is the genuine Jubilee?
The genuine Jubilee is the one that with Uhuru Kenyatta and former MP for...
Mr. Regala, what did Ms. Nderitu say?
Not Maina Commander is not Jubilee.
The Registrar of Political Parties.
Not Murade, Secretary General na sauti jina yake.
The Registrar of Political Parties, Ms. Nderitu, declined to ratify the new leadership as wished by the likes of Jeremiah Kioni or the Jeremiah Kioni-led faction.
Did you see the court juicy what they said about that other function? They are, let's follow this thing. The court actually, the party is for Akina Ndaragwa, former Ndaragwa MP, Kioni. Yes, it is true. So why do you keep our whip? Who cannot whip our people to on the right things of the government? Now the government have passed through Parliament that they can sell Portland and to whichever money, but the Parliament will never ask a question. So what is the function of Parliament? And when you tell me at mwananchi wa chini mwenye ana pesa kidogo hafikiri juu ya Parliament, hiyo Parliament sasa ndio inamsulubisha.
Fair enough, but my question still remains. Why wait until now?
We are not waiting, we've been making noise.
But you've been engaging in the talks. Up to now when the drafting is now...
We are engaging as we continue.
Why
but
now?
We are saying if these things are not happening, which we can still see them happening, the courts even said the other day, toeni huyu, siyo whip. But Parliament tunangojea kuona kama Weta atamtoa. But now asipomtoa, we are not signing that document. Wacha ikuwe ya UDA.
What I like about Azimio is what Eric Mongaya said, the consistency in the failures, strategic failures that they have. They have a notion. Is it a lifestyle? Is it a notion? Or is it a way of life? Where they wait for the goal and then complain that the referee was wrong. For the last 5 decades, that is what any team associated with Raila Odinga does. It should not be a surprise to you, Ian. It's not a surprise to Kenyans. Where you have Kalonzo Musyoka, your key confidant and your key ally in the bipartisan talks, and you have issues outside that you need to be addressed in that bipartisan talks. But you wait until the results are out, then you reject the results. So for them, rejecting results for anything is the norm. It is a lifestyle, it is a standard for them. It's a standard they've set for anybody in Azimio. That you wait for the process to be completed, you get the results, and then you reject the results. And I want to take you to what has been happening. And they are talking about the cost of living. It is not actually the cost of living. It is the conmanship that was there in the handshake government.
It is the continuation of conmanship. Actually, theirs is not even lying. Conning. You know, lying is even better. Conning. They are conning themselves. In fact, they've conned Kenyans until they've conned themselves. Okay.
It is not written
now,
not
and
they're
actually doing the same thing. And at least he's confirming that they are doing the same thing. That lying is
better than a con.
Fine, but now
keep conning.
Now, what is happening? What is happening is Raila Odinga was quiet after he realized Kalonzo things were happening. Then when they went to the Nyanza region and said he appreciates Kalonzo for standing with him over the last...
very much.
Yes, he appreciated, he showered words of respect and blessings and I mean, he was very, very happy and enthusiastic. Now, from then, Kalonzo realized, oh, so this guy can agree to do something. Then the media said he has been endorsed, he's now the candidate for 2027. Then a day later, we had that discussion here, and I said I will wait until when Kalonzo is on the ballot for me to believe them, because they are cons. He said, no, I did not endorse Kalonzo. I just praised him. Now, the same person is sitting in the bipartisan talks, all right, between them and the government, the opposition and the government. Then, in the midst of this nonsense and charade of things, Raila goes to Turkana. Realizes the ground is very hostile. The reception given to the Kenya Kwanza government was very, very candid. Then when he went there, he noticed even the governor is not with him. The governor is saying, I'll work with the president. And he's an azimio governor. And that is why they have expelled the governor for Turkana from ODM. Then he comes back and realizes he cannot access Mavoko. Yeah? He wanted to now go charge people. And the way Eric Mungaya said, when people were being killed in Sondu, he was not there. But he comes to Mavoko because it is closer, it's a walking distance. So maybe, I don't know. It is easy to trade with the lives of these people. I think that is the final, the ultimate conclusion. Now, after realizing their issues, he's being forced not to address his people, he's being forced out of his own people, and the people perceived that they are his. He now realized to seek attention from Kenyans and say, we will not sign if the cost of living is not there. I mean, how crazy could that get? Because the cost of living was part of the agenda. You gave the government time to address the cost of living. The issue about farm inputs is being addressed. The issue, they want now to tell us that the mess they put us in, we need now to keep quiet and not borrow and reduce the taxation, the government not to raise funds, the government to stay without having to collect funds to pay the debt. They want now to tell us the cost of living is high in Kenya alone. The cost of living in East Africa, in Africa, globally,
no, it is just
not
Kenya.
good. And in fact, what is pushing the cost of living higher is because the cost of petroleum.
So dollar is higher in Uganda. So dollar
the cost
is
of petroleum across,
shilling.
because it was even the highest in Australia, it was the highest in UK. We are highly dependent on petroleum products, especially here in Kenya, because of the industries.
Now, my friend, it's not 17.
And let me just finish, Ragalo. So they've realized they no longer have issues to debate about. They no longer have issues to take to the public. They no longer have issues to demonstrate about.
You're also lying.
So they decided now we are going to reject these bipartisan talks so that we get grounds to go back to the negotiation table. You will not lie to Kenyans this time around.
Well, fair enough. Mr. Mungai, Mr. Ron has touched on, the expelling of Lomurukai from the ODM party. One would want to say there's some sort of double standards within the coalition, because
which coalition?
The Azimio coalition, because Lomurukai was suspended because he sort of said he will work with the president, and the reception that Odinga received in Turkana. But not once, not twice, even governors from the Nyanza region, including senior counsel James Orengo, said he will work with the government, regardless of whatever anybody says. But, nothing will happen to him. Why these double standards?
Well, let me answer your question and say this. There are no double standards in Azimio. Azimio has only one standard. that so long as Baba is satisfied, everyone else must toe the line. In fact, it is not an issue of double standards. They have only one standard. Because double standards insinuates that you can be today here and tomorrow you can be there. And this is to say this: so long as Raila is eating and so long as Raila is on the table, everyone else must toe the line. And let me give you an example. In these bipartisan talks, we have representation from Raila's team, including Opio and I. And they are discussing with the government team. But then, yes, the lead of minority. We have Jalango, who went to State House, and Professor, this senator for Kisumu, Ojienda, they went to greet the president. They were issued marching orders by Azimio. Now, I can tell you one thing for sure. One thing that Azimio don't like is that Azimio is not interested in succession and in having younger leadership and young blood join the file and rank. And that is why anyone that is seen to join government because they know government has resources will be fought tooth and nail. There is one time Edwin Sifuna and Ababu Namwamba, and Ababu Namwamba were very strong in ODM. And they were selling the party as the party of the future. But one time it happened, they went to do an election, and in that general election, they found out that Sifuna and Ababu had prepared to be the Secretary General. And that day, men in black stormed the venue, overturned everything, and elections were not held. We had young people like Jalango who went to do a simple handshake with the president. They were threatened with letters to be expelled, including their own women rep from Nairobi. What am I trying to say? I am saying that so long as it comes to Azimio, only Baba has the right to eat and to feed. And so long as Baba is satisfied, everyone else must toe the line. It is that short. It does not require any further explanation. And I can tell you what happened in Turkana for Baba is what will continue happening to him. I have seen Kalonzo Musyoka saying he will not allow Baba to go into maandamano because now people are starting to realize the truth, that this has been a facade all along, that people are following Baba blindly, young people are losing their lives, but at the end of the day, when Baba gets what he wants, then those lives no longer matter.
Mr. Regalo, I want to come to you and get your views on the ongoing demolitions. Kalonzo Musyoka, the former Vice President, Machakos Governor Wavinya Ndeti, and Mavoko MP, Patrick Makau, have been on the front line, questioning the government over the demolitions. Now, on the 17th of this month, the DCI summoned a few individuals in regards to that particular parcel of land, including Mavoko MP Patrick Makau. Now, beg your pardon, Kalonzo Musyoka and Wavinya Ndeti have, I don't want to say allegedly, it is not yet confirmed, have been, allegedly implicated in the same. The words going around that, yeah, they could be involved in that particular, parcel of land. Now, question is, the Azimio coalition, and yesterday Raila Odinga condemned the government for those for the ongoing demolitions, but the MP himself was summoned by DCI, was on the front line. In fact, at some point he almost engaged in fist fight with the police officers on the ground, but is been accused of being part of those who being in cahoots with Aimima Lukenya, the farm that sold the parcels of land to those whose homes have been demolished. So who is fooling who? Because at the end of the day, the court ruled that Portland Cement go on the land.
Right. The court is right. But any time you can be right and not correct. Okay? So the court was right. The land, you know what the court arbitrates? The contention is this table. I want this table, Rono wants this table. Then the court decides this table belongs to Rono. So how Rono picks this table now is not in the court's issue. So the court was right. The land belongs to Portland. There is no point of contention. How many people live on this land by that time? 30,000 people. I mean, from household, 1,000 household. I'm giving an example. So now, demolition comes in.
Yes.
I'm bringing you this because it's an answer. Okay.
Let me just, fix something. Mr. Rono, beg your pardon. How Azimio being genuine, because they're condemning the government. But just a minute. You'll finish. Just a minute, Mr. Regalo. Mr. Regalo, just a minute. Azimio genuine, because they're questioning the government, condemning the government, but part of those in the leadership structure of the Azimio coalition have been implicated or accused of being in connection with the farm that sold these parcels of land to these landowners. So can they fast at least?
I told you, there's none that is better in a group of conmen. Right? There's nobody better in a group of conmen. You see, they have waited for the court order to come out, the court to declare that it is an illegal settlement. Evictions are happening. That is the result of the court order and the result of the conmanship that happened in that Mavoko land. Now, when the people are being evicted, the results are being seen, they want to go and reject the results. It is a standard that they have set because themselves, they are suspected to be involved. I don't want to say they are involved because the courts have not proved so, but they are suspected to be involved. But you see, when the billboard was put in that land, on that land, that this land by East African Portland Assembly, saying this land is not for sale. When that litigation went to the court, all these people are litigants, right? They are senior counsels. They never went to the court to follow the process and assist those people to sort out that issue. They waited for the court order. After the court order now, they ran to the field when the evictions are happening. What kind of craziness is that? Because it means these people are waiting for the suffering of these people. They just need to wait for people to suffer so that they go there and pretend that they are representing the same people. So I don't think there is credibility in anybody, including Wavinya Ndeti, who went there, because Wavinya Ndeti went there, but after the county government was handed over to her by the now tourism cabinet secretary, those issues were there and were on the table, and she was had information to that extent of that issue in Mavoko of the Portland. Of the Portland
I said the courts are right, but things may not be correct. And I've given an example of the table. I don't want to go back there. So I have the table which belongs to Rono. So how the table leaves my house to Rono's house? Do you break the door? Because the courts have said this table belongs to Rono. Now, do you break the door to remove the table?
What if Rono is refusing with it?
Yes.
No, I'm saying I have the table. So the process of removing this table to Rono, do you break the door? Do you create two wrongs? Why I'm saying this is, you're looking at many other government properties that people are in. I'll give an example. The Ruai land, it was a government property. I'll give an example. The land in Kariobangi that supposedly was supposed to, we should have had drainage passing through, which it is passing through, okay? And many people made noise that Uhuru is moving people so that he can build something for his farm. So everything was coming from Ruiru, going up to Kariobangi, then to Ruai, other than using the same route of Ruiru to Ruai, which is just behind. So it's common sense. But now the question is, the land has been pronounced to be owned by Portland. The Portland land is in which county? Machakos County. Before Portland was there, because it just didn't come the other day, the land was owned by who? It was a community land. You understand? If we look at this thing of land, then we should hammer Nairobi and live for the Maasais. You understand? So we should not look at land that way. We look at land differently. Before Portland was there, the land was a community land. Then it was given by the same government for Portland to do business. So how do you acquire a community land from a community?
Now, the community sits down and gives you a chunk of land. So Kenya has been expanding. That's why RUTO is doing the housing. Is he doing the housing because people are not having, people are sleeping in houses today? Nobody, but he's doing housing so that people can get better housing. Listen to this. So if that is the case, my brother, when the court said demolition or that land belongs to Portland, then now who gave the orders for demolition? Someone did. The demolition started. You understand? Is it wrong to demolish, to go putting down people's houses? It is right. It depends where you're sitting. It is wrong. Depends where you're sitting. I'm not becoming political here. I'm just being factual. Depends where you're sitting. Someone has put 7 million of his life on that. Let's be candid enough and say, the project of housing is, let's assist people to build their own houses as we also build houses for others who cannot afford. I can afford a house, Rono cannot afford. If Rono can afford a house, he found himself on a corned land, I cannot demolish, I cannot take Rono as a wrong. Because Rono actually has papers to show this is my land. So if he was conned, we take his ignorance to our benefit. Say, I'm giving an example which government should have done. Hey, Rono, hapa uligongwa 1500, lakini sasa ndo nikuachie hii land tupatie 1300. So the government should have sold that land to these people, not killing their life. Where some people are now back to zero because of that. And some people had put permanent housing. So my issue is, demolitioning the houses is wrong. The land is for Portland, I agree. But now the community land, the community is which one? The Kamba community. Under which county? So the government should have, supposedly should have sat with the county to decide the amicable way of settling these people. Then from there, now ulibomolea mtu nyumba ako wapi? Ako wapi? Unambomolea nyumba ndiye akuje aishi kwa nyumba ya housing yako. Is it that way?
The issue is, Mr. Ragala.
Nimeongea vibaya.
Just before you jump in.
Najua sasa unataka kunipiga.
Because let me ask you.
Unabomolea mtu nyumba ndio aingie kwa housing yako.
I have 2 points. If today I acquire Ragalo's land by mistake, after being conned, and I acquire his land and build a toilet in his land, Ragalo would not be here today. He would be up in arms, not even waiting for the police to demolish that toilet. He would be there himself demolishing the toilet. He would be up in arms. Number 2, the construction continued even after a billboard was put on the land, that this land is not for sale, and somebody is busy building. These people, whoever had not finished in 2015 building his house, all right? If they are genuine enough, then those buildings by 2015, they would still be the way they were in 2015 today. But in 2015, they knew this case is in court, and they were in court, and it was under litigation. But they continued to build by the promise by the politicians that this is your land. But they exactly know that there is a pending court case. So is ignorance a defense in this country?
So you are supporting demolition?
No, is ignorance a defense?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. You're supporting demolition.
A defense?
No. Me, I'm not. You are supporting.
Yes, the courts have pronounced itself.
So demolition.
Get out of somebody else's land. Get out of that land because it's government land. Because you are conned, you continued building. It's a community land. It's a community land.
Okay, you're asking him a question. It's like you want to trip his moral.
Which he did.
You want to invoke his moral guilt.
But by his sentiments, he supports demolition. Me, I said I support the government what they have done. But you see,
support the court.
The government part of the court. That's what I'm saying. I said I support the government.
So you support demolition also?
Just listen. I support the courts. Then I said when it comes to demolition, then I said now here we could have sat down.
I don't get.
And that's why I said take someone else's ignorance, take it to your advantage.
You are setting
okay. So now what Uhuru did wrong,
Thing is, Mr. Agalo,
just before you finish, government, what Uhuru did wrong in Ruai,
just before you finish,
Kariobangi, the UDA is doing right.
Just before you finish,
right
Mr. Agalo,
in Mavoko.
you said, and the azimio coalition, the coalition, which you support, has said they are faulting the government for the demolition.
Yes, not the court.
At the same time, you are saying you are, you're agreeing with the government in terms of whatever they're doing.
Well, we understand. How many arms of the government do we have? We have 3. I support the government on the side of the court. Please, my brother, I remember everything I said. I support the government on the side of the court because we have 3 arms of the government. We have the executive arm, we have the judiciary arm, and we have legislative arm. So I support the government on the side of the court.
I love Ragami.
Now, I want to repeat that. I support the government on side of the court. Because when it comes to demolition, which is now the government on side of what?
Executive.
Now there we need to talk.
It's a court order.
So now, that's what I'm saying. The court can give an opinion.
It's not an opinion, it's a verdict.
It is a verdict. Listen.
Okay, fair enough.
The court gave an verdict. This land belongs to Portland. Yes. So now it comes to executive. So executive
to disrespect the court.
So the court said go remove them. Did they give that? Been told it's that's why I'm telling you. When now it comes to executive side of going to react, now there is common sense which the UDA don't have. Now that common sense tells you, go bring down the houses and then you build them gorofas waingie.
Okay, let me ask you.
That is the common sense here.
Ignorance is no defense here.
You talk about common sense.
Yes.
And you use the example of, if Rono had a table and then he was told to hand over the table and then he said, he closes his door, you have to, find a way to get it, regardless of how you do it, whether you'll bang his door, go through his door. At the same time, and like they've said, even the governor then, and the CS for tourism now, Dr. Alfred Mutua, said he warned the people of Mavoko in Machakos, and they said, this land, do not buy this land. Because this land belongs to Portland Cement Company. He did, and he issued a statement.
Yeah. I agree.
But now,
that's
here's
what
the
I'm telling
question.
you, and already a wrong was done.
Okay, fine.
Do you use a wrong to correct a
Fair
wrong?
enough. Let me just finish.
I asked that question.
I have a question for you. I'm asking you this question. Now that Mutua said that, and we have leaders from that particular region, and I mentioned Kalonzo Musyoka.
Mutua is also a leader in that
okay, let me
region.
finish.
Yes.
Okay, let me finish. Kalonzo Musyoka, Wavinya Ndeichi, and Patrick Makau, the Mavoko MP, have been accused of being part of those who engage in this, in this land saga and selling of this land. Question is, why can't they come out to clear their names first and say, I've been accused of, being in cahoots with those who sold this land to these people, but I am not involved. As opposed to, condemning the government, first of all, when you have been accused. I say accused because...
Let me question. Who accused Akina Kalonzo? Who?
Okay, Macau has been questioned by the DCI. Let's talk about Patrick Macau.
But who has accused others? Anything that is said in the market is not correct.
Macau was questioned by the DCI. You cannot be questioned. You cannot be questioned by the DCI if they don't have information. And he was questioned alongside. He was questioned alongside officials of the Aimima Lukene.
I agree. That's why I said I agree. He's been questioned by the DCI, but the other names that are being said, nobody has questioned. So now the issue is. You want to tell me the common sense of UDA government is to bring down houses so that these people go into your houses, the one that you're building,
that is not the case.
The studios.
That is a presumption.
Then that is why I'm asking a question. When the court says this house, this land, it belongs to Portland.
What do you do next?
Now it goes to executive side. That's why I said I agree with the government on side of, because they are three arms. Then there is a government on side of executive. When executive, the document came to them, what was their reaction?
Remove the houses from that land.
Remove the houses from that land. So, who went for the police? Because police have to give them the orders. Who?
It is definitely the executive.
I'm not asking you to answer. I'm asking so that Kenyans can think. So who talked to the police and arranged the police? Who arranged for the bulldozers to start moving? I'm just let me finish my statement. Yawa, can't you let me finish? This Togul guy can be a problem. So now, who arranged the police? Because for you to arrange the police, the hierarchy of the police must be informed. If you have ever done, I've done a campaign for Baba in Mount Kenya, and for you to call a police, you have to talk with the whole hierarchy that we are going to do this. And it's not only there, it has to go all the way to the provincial level. So now, who told the police? And now, two, who brought the bulldozers? Where were they procured? Because now some of them are private, maybe. They have to be paid for. Who gave the security and barricade? Who gave the security of that region and barricade that nobody should enter as we do our job? Are you getting this? So do you want to tell me it was not a pre-thought thing that immediately the court is dropping, pap, tunafinya watu?
Let me say this.
So the police decided to protect this, yes, because that is their function. But now, before the police are called, then there are also that meeting. I mean, they were always meeting this side and all those things. You want to tell me the decision was made even by the governor, because you cannot start doing this without governor's knowledge, that you started demolition. So the governor was aware muna demolish vitu kwake. If really the arms of government are working as they are supposed to work, when the national is coming to do a project, for example, a level 4 hospital in Machakos, the governor must be told that the level 4 was going to be done. So the governor is coming there because it's a devolved function. So you want to tell me this one, the governor was not told?
Let Mr. Mungai just jump in and then you ask him.
And then you come in. Let me say, I agree with Ragalo that the government should exercise the faculty of common sense.
Common sense?
No, wait.
Common sense.
Wait. Don't rush in too fast. But I also believe that the Kenyan population also have the option of exercising that common sense in the first place. When you go in Nairobi, you see the expressway terminates in Mlolongo, okay? Now that bigger area is part of Nairobi Metropolitan. So let me ask this. When as an ordinary Kenyan, you go and be told that a plot of 50 by 80 is selling at 15,000. You remove 15,000, you're given a certificate written in paper, and there's a billboard telling you, this land, do not buyer beware. There is a caveat that tells you buyer beware. You remove 15,000, 50,000, and you go and buy. In fact, this week, there's a social media clip that was circulating of one of the chairman telling people that, unajua, title ni makaratasi. You don't worry about title deeds. Ni wewe enda ujenge fence, sio kujenga, enda ujenge nyumba, kwa sababu serikali ina recognize nyumba peke yake. That is someone who misled Kenyans. That is someone who, you know, what do we call it, by false pretense? Obtaining money through false pretense, because they are the ones that collected the money to issue the certificates. The court has found that the title deed that was premised on the certificates, or rather certificates on the title, was forged title. The court has found out that the IME Lukenya, when they purported to sell the land as an institution, the institution actually had not been established by law. Now the question is this. From the beginning of last year, the government asked the residents to vacate peacefully because that land does not belong to them. But what Governor Wavinya Ndeti did, and the other local leaders, including the MP, was to go and incite the public not to move out. So the public and the governor exercised the discretion not to use common sense. Okay? Now, because they forewent common sense, then you cannot request the government to forego common sense. This land, there is an aggrieved party, which is Portland Cement. Now, Portland has gotten an order for eviction. So what should the government do? The same government that asked people, please move out, they refused to move out. The court order is not an opinion, as Ragalo has said. It is not an opinion. The court order is meant to be carried out by the executive arm of government. And I dare say that the residents of Mavoko have an equal opportunity to go before the DCI and present the people who sold them that land. And also the law allows them to sue those individuals in a competent court of law for compensation. It is allowed. Because what will happen in future, when we say we exercise common sense, people will be selling public land where a hospital is meant to be built. People go and build a mansion in a hospital land. Then they say, please, let us exercise common sense. Please do not remove us. Then we will not have a country to run. So at the end of the day, I think the government exercised, just like the community forewent their right to use common sense, the government equally had a right to exercise, and they did that.
Mr. Roro, you had a question to ask.
Before I make the question, an Act of Parliament, Cap 294 says, in the case of trespass, any person who without reasonable excuse enters, is or remains upon or erects any structure on or cultivates or tills or grazes stock or permits stock to be on private land without the consent of the occupier, private, without the consent of the occupier, thereof shall be guilty of an offense. I wanted to ask Ragal, to what extent is the law applicable to somebody who has trespassed and built a house on someone else's land? Do you wait for the government to come and demolish that land? Can you wait? Can you wait for the government to come and demolish after you have the court order? You take it to the police and you tell them, this is my land and there's somebody who has built and here is the court order to prove that the land is mine. Do you wait for the presidential pronouncement that the police should go and remove that person from that land? Can you yourself organize to remove that person from that land with the supervision of police using the same court order?
I answer. Thika Road demolitions and bypass demolitions.
That was done by Raila Odinga.
With the exception of Raila Odinga.
When the barabara was to be built, the government issues document. One, to Samia Group for demolition along Mombasa Road. One, to all those people who had trespassed government land, the road reserves on Thika Superhighway. And to all those who are on road reserves on the bypasses. Okay? Some went to court. They lost. But how did the government handle them? That's where I'm talking of common sense in NAC government. And miscommon sense in UDA government.
That was on Sumkata government.
What happened? People started negotiating with the government. I'm going to remove it within 6 months. Actually, they were told, remove it as we come. Where the buildings that were brought down, they had refused totally to remove. A house, 40 million house in Rwaka, not Rwaka, in Runda, so 40 million house. Former Nakumat, Thika Road. But when it came to Samia, the government renegotiated. They sat down. And Samia even today has not been touched. How? That's what I'm telling you. Sometimes common sense make people think and redivert or renegotiate. How? Samia gave away a piece and said, kindly, hata pale ni kwangu. Simuende hivyo, muache hii cause hii, mukiguza. And common sense said, yes, wacha tumwachie cause employ watu, tutaharibia 2,000, 3,000 people jobs, na pale tunaweza chukua. You understand? That was done.
That was not common sense, it was kickback.
That is common sense. Now, this one that lacks common sense is that, let me now ask you, now give Portland, the truth is, the Portland land is supposed to be sold with the Portland cement. and the buyer cannot buy an acre minus. So these people have to move so that if you want to sell, you sell Kitu full.
Okay. Fair enough.
And that has to be said.
Fair enough, Mr.
Sasa,
Rono. Fair enough. Time is not really on our side. Fair enough. Mr. Rono, as we wrap up, kindly, a few seconds. Do you think Azimio will keep off the drafting of that report and not sign it, or do you think it's just...
They are highly unpredictable. They have set standards of refusing the results. I will not be surprised. But I thank God that we have at least a president with a PhD for the first time in this country. He's a bright president, and I know he's going to deliver for this country. I have no doubt in my mind. Thank you.
Mr. Ogal, Mr. Mungai, sorry.
Mine is to say thank you and to ask Kenyans to remain vigilant, especially on matters where they will deploy a coin or two, and to wish Kenyans a very good week ahead, and to really pray that the hustles of Kenyans will actually put money into their pocket in light of the economic times.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for making time to be with us this morning. Thank you very much, you, the viewer, for keeping, staying with us from 7 up to now. Of course, we've been talking about matters, the state of the nation, the universal health coverage launched by the president, as well as the bipartisan team, which now retreats to the Naivasha to draft their report before, of course, tabling it in the National Assembly. Now, that has been the morning drift for today. Kindly. Whichever way. We are done, kindly. Next time, we are done, kindly. We are done. It is a recommendation. That is how they decided. See you again tomorrow. Kindly, we're done. Tomorrow. See you again tomorrow. I have been your host, Ian Keitany. Remember to stay with us. You can visit our website, www.lookuptv.co.ke, just to get an overview of the stories making headlines across the country, not only across the country, but as well across the borders. Remember, we're also still keeping tabs with the ongoing turmoil between Hamas and Israel and its implications across the globe. Thank you very much. Do have yourself a lovely day, and like always, God bless.